It's been nearly 30 years since the White House announced a war on drugs in America. At the time, nearly 10% of our population was trapped in some form of chemical dependency. And today, despite spending tens of billions of dollars, and despite the loss of tens of thousands of lives waging this war, about 10% of our population is caught in the cycle of drug abuse.
I was a morning drinker. I'd get up and I'd drink just to get out of bed, and then go do some pills. I was doing acid, ecstasy, mushrooms, really whatever I could get. I mean, if I could get uppers of any kind, awesome. Coke was great.
So I took acid for like a month straight, and it was just a mess. Like, I couldn't talk to people anymore. I'd go see people. It was my job to evangelize people to the ways of LSD, because I really thought it was expanding my mind.
To some, it may seem as though we have made no progress whatsoever to curb the problem of addiction in America. And despite winning certain individual battles, many believe we are losing the war on drugs. And some have gone so far as to say we should just give up.
Do you think marijuana should be legalized?
What if I don't know?
Is it possible, though, that we still have yet to fully understand the issue of drug abuse? Are we pursuing the wrong enemy? Are we helping the situation at all?
I'd seen every shrink in Ann Arbor, and everyone had pumped me up on all this prescription medicine, and I found out, that wow, if I take more than I'm supposed to, most of the time, I can get that buzz again.
The facts are easy to recite. By the time they graduate from high school, 94% of kids have experimented with alcohol.
Do you have a drinking problem?
Big time. I love drinking.
At least 55% have used marijuana.
Using as much drugs as I could possibly use. I'm praying to God that I don't die while I'm in the process of doing that.
Kids are using drugs earlier now. Marijuana is 10 times stronger than it was in the 1960s.
A lot of people who didn't smoke at the beginning of the year smoke now.
Now everyone does it.
And certain victories we thought we had achieved are vanishing before our eyes. Heroin is back. LSD is back. Speed is back. And not just in the hidden corridors of society.
I used to get like straight A's, and I was like on the basketball, star basketball player, and I was just perfect. Everything was going great. And then, I started doing drugs and messing everything up.
Drug abuse is a part of the American culture. These are the facts about drug abuse in America, but the facts tell only part of the story.
Not even the drugs could hide the pain anymore. They weren't doing it, so it was like death seemed better than life. That's what it took for me to get sober. It took, death seeming better than life.
He searched my room, found all these bottles of alcohol and a bong and just a lot of stuff. So I just left the house, and I finally came back because he said he'd call the police. And I told him, and I believed it, that I wasn't going to do drugs anymore, that I was going to quit. But then a few days later, I got drunk. And I said, how did this happen? I really said I wasn't going to, and I was really embarrassed for myself, because I'd said I'd quit before, but I just didn't mean it. But this time I meant it.
But I knew deep down inside I did. I knew I had a problem. I knew there was something wrong when, to get out of bed in the morning, I had to lean over and grab that fifth of vodka.
We don't know what causes chemical dependency. Anyone is susceptible, rich or poor, white or black, male, female. Kids from the city, kids from the suburbs, kids from good families, kids from troubled families, kids with no families. There are no predictors of substance abuse. But we do know the outcomes. What starts as a game quickly becomes a very destructive force in the lives of those with addictions.
Washington Juvenile Detention Center.
On the outside looking in?
The inside looking out. I did an armed robbery and got locked up.
Are you drinking now?
No.
Why?
Because I'm pregnant.
Most time, that's the first thing on my mind. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna smoke me a doobie or smoke me a blunt.
As the drug begins to consume an adolescent's life and the addiction grows, dramatic changes occur in every aspect of development: social, mental, emotional, spiritual, even physical.
I was a really nice, outgoing guy until it came to drugs and alcohol. If there was any question that would be taken away from me, I didn't care about anyone.
Grades in school begin to drop. Friendships change. Relationships with parents deteriorate.
I avoided my parents whenever possible. I had no relationship with them whatsoever.
My dad believed everything I said, and that was the worst thing he could have done.
Soon, problems arise with the police and the courts. The frequency of drug use increases, and suddenly, running away from home, staying out all night, and leaving home for weekends at a time becomes common.
And I had nothing. I had nothing. I burnt all my bridges. I was on the street, for like a couple weeks. I had nothing and nobody, and it was so depressing.
And by the time most parents discover any evidence of drug use, the addiction is full-blown, and dramatic action is required. Chemical dependency is an insidious illness, and we know the startling truth that unless it is treated, drug addiction will always lead to death. Most of us realize that drugs are all around us, but look deeply into society, and we see not statistics, but individual lives devastated by a chemical. Young men and women who have lost their innocence and who, without even knowing it, made choices they'll live with the rest of their lives.
What grade are you in?
I'm in 11th.
11th grade, are you going to be able to finish,
Probably not. I have to get my GED.
You miss drinking, and yet it's important enough to have a healthy baby that you won't drink. It's impressive.
Yeah, see, my March will be like my January.
Your March will be like your January. Help me out.
Because I'm having him in March.
Yeah.
I couldn't drink in January on New Year's.
Oh.
So March will be my New Year's.
Acid.
Acid was my drug of choice. Whenever I could, I would get my hands on acid.
This guy says, hey, I got some acid. And I'd always said, well, I won't do weed or I won't do alcohol, but I'd smoke cigarettes when I was in middle school, And then I said, oh, well, I'll smoke weed and I'll drink, but I won't do anything else. And then right when he said, I have acid, I just forgot that.
I've seen people who are on permanent trips, and that's something I'm glad I missed.
What are your dreams?
Get out of a place like this.
But in the face of such trial and tragedy, there is hope, because the other thing we know about drug addiction is that it is absolutely treatable. Young lives once headed for destruction are brought back from the edge of despair to lead normal lives, living examples of the power of recovery.
I wanted to quit to prove that I could, because everyone said, you have a problem, you need to quit. And I'd always tell them, I could if I wanted to. And after I tried quitting a few times, and I couldn't, it made me want to quit even more.
I couldn't get sober until I finally was, so desperate, to do anything to change my life. I told myself, I'd do anything that anybody said to get me to stay sober, and it was like that, like a moment of clarity, I would, for the first time in my life, I sincerely asked somebody for help.
Giving them, a suggestion of a treatment program out in Montana. And he ended up telling me, you can go, you don't have to go, you can get out and just, do your own thing again. And I was just like, no, I gotta go. Get me out of here as soon as you can. And I was on a plane 5:30 that night.
I basically accepted the fact that I was gonna die in a drunk driving accident or something of that nature. And I didn't care. What got me sober was my dad sending me to rehab.
It helped me to grow up real fast. Helped me to realize how tough it is on your own. But not so much that, how tough it is, how awful it really is, when you're using every single day, getting up all the time, for no good reason.
I associate myself with sober people now, I'm really active in AA.
And I've been to AA for a long time now, I'm still going. I was at Washtenaw for a couple years, I'm in Michigan now, and my relationships are basically all completely restored and healthy. And eventually I realized that my master plan of eventually doing drugs again wasn't really that important, because I liked being sober. I liked not constantly being in fear of getting caught or killing someone, and ruining the relationships all around me.
Today, thousands of young men and women are testaments to a system which works. Reminders that chemical dependency is absolutely treatable. Maybe the war on drugs is being won after all. Maybe it's being one kid at a time.